Welcome to the eCommerce Badassery podcast, the place for scrappy female entrepreneurs who want to learn actionable steps and strategies to grow the traffic, sales, and profit in your e-commerce business. I'm your host, Jessica Totillo-Coster, a 20-year retail veteran who spent 3 years as the only employee of a 7-figure online store. That shit was crazy. I know exactly how it feels to do all the things, and I'm sharing everything I learned the hard way so you don't have to. I may have started this business by accident, but supporting badass bosses like you lights me the fuck up, and I am so stoked to see you grow. Are you ready, babe? Let's roll. Welcome back to the eCommerce Badassery podcast. I'm your host, Jessica Totillo-Coster. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about search engine optimization and more specifically how you can increase clicks from the Google search results page to your actual website. Now, first, let's clarify what it is that I'm talking about here. When a user searches for something on a search engine, they'll be shown a page with multiple results, each of which has a title shown in blue and a small little text blurb underneath that title. Those are your meta title and meta description. Every page on your website has one of these, and optimizing them is an important part of search engine optimization. If you've ever heard me talk about SEO before, you've probably heard me say that this title and description are more for the user than Google. This small bit of text is all the user has to decide whether or not they're going to click on that result. And with 10 organic results and a few ads on each page, you're competing against a lot of other websites for that user's attention. The good news is there are still a lot of website owners that don't optimize this at all or leave the content blank and let the search engine populate the content. So even just putting a little bit of effort here can go a long way. But you're an e-commerce badass, so you never want to do just the bare minimum, right? Of course not. That's why you're listening to this podcast. So today I wanted to share 10 ways that you can increase your click-through rate just by updating your meta titles and descriptions. I recently saw this information presented by Neil Patel, a leader in the SEO space. These 10 recommendations all came from data that was gathered by ClickFlow, which is an SEO testing tool. Now, I haven't used this tool myself, but the gist of it is that you can A/B test different meta titles and descriptions to see which ones have the best click-through rate. The tool ain't cheap, so it doesn't make sense for most people, but the data that Neil shared is super valuable. So I wanted to break it down and help you discover how you can implement these tips into your own business. One last note before we hop into it. Neil is generally speaking from a blog post perspective versus products and collections, though some of these tricks do apply to any page on your website. But don't discount the idea of having a blog, even as an e-commerce business. In fact, they're a great way to attract new users to your site and to provide more value to your existing customers. And if you want to learn more about blogging for e-commerce, check out episode 12. I'll stick a link in the show notes. So let's get right into it. 10 ways to increase your click-through rate from organic search results. Number 1, put a question in your meta title. Having a question in your meta title can increase your click-through rate by 14%. And it makes perfect sense if you think about it. When most people are searching Google, they're looking for answers to questions. So it would make sense that if they saw a title that was their exact question or very similar to it, it would trigger them to click on it. So for instance, let's say you sell bridesmaids gifts. You might create a blog post about how to propose to your bridesmaids. If you're not sure what questions your customers are asking related to your product, use a tool like Answer the Public to find out. When you put in a couple of keywords related to your product, Answer the Public will give you the questions people are asking, phrases that start with how to, what is, etc. Number 2, put the exact query in the URL of the post or the page. Using that same example, how to propose to your bridesmaid, you would want the URL to exactly say how to propose to your bridesmaid. Neil saw a 45% increase in click-through when the URL of the page matched the exact question the post was about. That's huge. Now, in most cases, if you don't edit the URL, it's going to default to the title of your post. So if you're already titling it with the question you're answering, you might actually be doing this without even realizing, but it's worth it to go back and check. Number 3, add years to your meta title. Let me ask you, if you were looking for information on the latest trends in an industry, let's say what are the current hair trends, which would you be more likely to click on? The hottest haircuts for summer 2021 or the hottest haircuts right now? Putting the year in the title lets the user know that the information they're going to read when clicking on through is going to be up to date and relevant. The caveat with this one is you have to actually keep the content up to date. You may want to just pick a few of your top posts or the top queries and commit to updating them regularly. But you don't necessarily have to do this with every blog post you have. So going back to the bridesmaid gifts example, maybe you have a blog post that is the best bridesmaid gifts, insert year here, and then you update that on a yearly basis. Number 4, make your meta title sound educational. The title of this podcast episode and many of my episodes fall into this category. Adding the words how to is the quickest way to do this and can increase your click-through rate by 10.4%. Are you starting to see a trend here? Ultimately, when someone is searching the internet, they're generally looking to solve a problem or learn something new. So as much as you can position your content to answer questions and teach them something, the better off you'll be. All right, we've got a few more. Let's keep going. Number 5, add power words to your meta title. What is a power word? Power words trigger emotion in the reader. It's a copywriting trick that has proven to increase click rates in all sorts of marketing, and the same is true for your meta title. Some examples of power words are easiest, forbidden, effortless. Weave these into your titles and you could see a 10.4% increase in click rate. Check the show notes for a link to 700 power words you can use in your marketing by Optin Monster. Number 6, add emotion to your meta title. Adding emotion to your title tags can increase your click-through rate by 7.3%. Refer to those power words I mentioned to help you do this. And remember, people buy with emotion, so we should be tugging at those heartstrings and trying to elicit emotions in our marketing all of the time. Number 7, evoke curiosity. Leaving the reader wanting a little bit more is a great way to entice them and get an increase in click-through of 5.9%. You'll definitely get some ideas from the power words I mentioned here as well, but another great example of this is a title like The 7 Benefits of X, right? Insert product here. Number 5 will shock you. It's cheesy, I know, but it's because it works. Okay, number 8, make sure you actually add a meta description. It seems simple enough, but truthfully, there are so many people that are not writing their own meta descriptions, which means Google will fill it in automatically, usually with the first few sentences of the post, which likely isn't enticing enough to get the user to click through. It's definitely worth it to take the time to write your own meta descriptions and make sure you're showing the user the important information they need to see to click through. And the data that Neil shared showed that having a meta description increased clicks by 5.8%. Number 9, use between 15 and 40 characters in your meta titles. The number of characters you can use for your meta titles tends to change over time, and what actually gets displayed can depend on the device the user is using when searching the internet. But it's generally around 70-ish characters, at least at the time of this recording. But the data actually shows that titles between 15 and 40 characters get a higher click-through than longer ones or shorter than that. This sweet spot can give you an overall lift of 8.6%. I would recommend you get closer to the 40 character mark so you can make sure you have your keywords in there, but don't stuff the title for the sake of stuffing the title. And number 10, the last tip for getting more clicks is to get inspiration from paid ads. I really love this tip that Neil gave. So if you're not sure where to start with writing or updating your meta titles, take a peek at the ads that show for the queries you're optimizing for. So Google gets paid when someone clicks on an ad. So they have a metric called quality score, and they assign that score to each individual ad that gets run on their platform. If Google determines that the quality of the ad is low, for example, it has a shitty title that never gets clicked on, it's going to stop showing the ad because they know they can't make any money from it. So as an advertiser, it's in your best interest to put a lot of time and effort into optimizing for this quality score, which means those ads are a great way for you to get inspiration on what to write in your own meta titles. So there you have it, 10 ways to increase your click-through rate from Google search. When you're thinking about which of your posts you're going to optimize, start with the most evergreen pieces of content, the ones that answer those basic questions your potential customers are searching for. And make sure you give it at least 30 to 60 days to really see any results. Remember, everything SEO takes time, so be patient. And don't forget, if you don't already have Google Search Console installed, you're going to want to have that up and running. Otherwise, you won't be able to track your results. And that's a wrap for today. Thank you so much for spending your time with me, and I'll see you on the flip side. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you like what you heard, I'd be so grateful if you'd leave a review on Apple Podcasts, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you're looking to surround yourself with more product entrepreneurs who totally get your life right now, get your booty on over to the eCommerce Badassery Facebook group. Can't wait to see you there. Until next time, e-commerce friends, stay badass.